And so if you're at home, you don't have to use a block, but I like different props. You can really use whatever you have around you. So if you do have a block or even a paper towel, this is like a roll of paper towels. That's also a really great length as well and width for your prop. But I invite you to close your eyes as we're starting to get ourselves centered in. I'll keep my eyes open at all times. Don't worry, I'm staring at anybody. Usually looking out the window or on the floor and just kind of grasping my thoughts as I'm talking here. So wherever you came from, see if you can come to the present right here on the mat. A lot of the hard work is already done, getting yourself here, holding yourself accountable to practice this evening. So give yourself a little moment of appreciation and gratitude, even a little hug to yourself, because it's a lot to show up for yourself. I know before class, we were talking about making time and kind of overdoing it and overcommitting. So this is definitely something that you can appreciate later on that you committed to. And hopefully you can bring these practices off the mat as well as on the mat. So wherever you came from, whether it's been work or travel, traffic, maybe a class or a meeting of some sort, see if you can place that aside for right now. If it had any lingering feelings or any of that stuff, you can let yourself really be fully in the present. As we start to bring more mindfulness into our body, we can become more mindful throughout our day-to-day practice. So not just in yoga, but in our routines as well. So I invite you to take an initial body scan, head to toe, seeing how you're feeling this evening. How are you doing mentally and physically? Whether you have an injury going on or some soreness, just recognizing that and without judging yourself, just letting your body be. We can tune in a little bit further by focusing on the breath. We can take a big deep inhale through the nasal passages and exhale that warm, stale air away from the body. Maybe you start to feel your shoulders soften. As you're taking that body scan, just seeing how you're feeling. Keeping the breath flowing in and out. Setting that baseline breath throughout practice. As we start to calm down the nervous system a little bit, you might start to have more sensations or thoughts that arrive either in your head or in your body, and that's completely okay. I think a lot of people think that in yoga you have to turn off your head and you have to be in a meditative state, but we're humans and our brains are wired to be thinking. So the real challenge is to not stop the thinking, but instead recognizing a thought and instead of holding on to it, letting it ruminate throughout your whole body, rather let it go. So let the thought come into the head instead of holding on to it, let it go. A few more moments here in our centering, finding our breath for the evening. Now is a great time if you'd like to set an intention for today's practice, if you have a mantra or a dedication, something that you can come back to if you are feeling challenged or distracted or even bored. It can happen. And as always, you can come back to the breath, focusing on the inhales and the exhales. Continue to keep your soft gaze or your eyes closed if you like. We'll start to think about our posture here in our seated position. You may think of on the inhale, you're continuing to rise the spine up a little bit more. If you're a visual person, maybe you imagine a fishing string at the top of your head that's gently pulling yourself up on the inhale. And on the exhale, you're continuing to root yourself into your mat, the floor. If you're sitting on something like I am, you're pressing your sit bones. So the bones, the knobby part of underneath the flesh of your glutes into the floor. So inhale, lengthen, and exhale, rooting yourself. As we're continuing to grow a little bit taller, elongating the spine, we're opening up that section in our midsection to keeping the breath flowing. So expanding the lung, expanding the diaphragm, all really good stuff to get those deep, hearty breaths. As we start to move nice and easy, we'll continue that pace that we're at right now. So we'll start bringing some neck movements into the body, nice and easy and gentle. We'll start by bringing some chin, left and right. Gently getting some stretches in the neck, especially if in your day-to-day you didn't get this full range of motion in the body. I know a lot of people these days, when you're working on a computer, you're not really getting this, kind of more straight. So we'll continue the breath. Once you start to find yourself gently resisting, as long as there's not any pain, maybe you start to breathe into that stretch, really see where you're feeling that tightness. And from here, we can start to bring your chin up and down into your head nods. On the inhale, bring the chin up, and on the exhale, chin down toward the chest. Times, if you'd like to take that full round circle, you may do so. Just being careful, the neck is really heavy and our head is very heavy and the neck is very fragile. So without whipping your head back, gentle movements. So keeping on the same idea of working with our neck a little bit, we'll take some stretches left and right. We'll start by bringing the right ear to the right shoulder. So without hiking that shoulder up, right here builds a lot of tension. We just want to aim the ear toward the shoulder. And as you can see, my ear is nowhere near close to my shoulder, and that's okay. It's just aiming towards that. If you'd like, you can start to reach out the opposite hand. So the left hand, and you don't have to have your fingers to touch. Maybe they just hover over. Maybe you start to find where you're getting that stretch in that left side. And of course, you can utilize the props around you, whether it's a book or a block. Just you can place your hands on there to get that height. Breathing into the stretch, finding that space. If you'd like to take it even a step further, you can place your right hand over the left ear, gently pressing, keeping that left shoulder down. Great job, everyone. Bring the breath into that space. 2 more. Last one. So go ahead and release that bind, gently bringing the head back to neutral, and now we'll take it to the other side. So left ear to the left shoulder, right hand out, and again, taking whichever variation you like, the left hand over the right ear. See how this side feels compared to that first side we did. And if you are feeling really sore on one side, just maybe seeing what that might be from. Maybe you favor a side and you sleep, or maybe it's an ergonomics issue from working or something else. They're usually not the same on either side. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, go ahead, release. You bring the head back to center. So coming down the body, now we'll start to work with our shoulders. So we'll just gently start with some shoulder rolls back. So on the inhale, we'll bring the shoulders up to the ears. Very rarely you'll hear me say, bring your shoulders up to the ears. It's not comfortable. On the exhale, we'll draw the shoulders back together like you're squeezing a lemon between your shoulder blades, or a lime, something smaller, and then drawing the shoulders all the way down. So inhale up, exhale back and down. And you can kind of do whatever you want with your hands. Sometimes I like to have them together. You can have them on for a lap, whatever works for you. Keeping that breath flowing, opening up the chest as we're coming through with the breath. Good job. 2 more rounds in this direction. Excellent. And now we'll take to the other direction. So this time on the inhale up, exhale forward and down. So we're rolling the shoulders forward, getting that internal rotation here. Sending the breath through the back as we're opening up. Two more rounds here. And then just for funsies, we'll bring some wrist stretches out so you can bring your palms towards me, and we'll just start to, you can flicker, maybe to do some wrist rolls, just a little moment of gratitude for how much our hands do for us. And we do so much with them, just giving a moment to wiggle out the joints and tendons in there. Excellent. And over these. Okay, now moving downwards. So we've really worked with our neck so far, and now we'll start to work with our core, getting some spinal flexion, which is super important, especially before any weight bearing poses. So we'll take some twists here. So you can continue to sit on something. If you are sitting on something, you don't have to. I tend to like to continue to sit on something. It helps if you have tight hip flexors like myself, and this will help bring your hips a little bit over the knees so that you're not collapsing forward, which I tend to do. So on the next inhale, we'll bring our arms up all the way overhead, getting a nice lengthened spine. And on the exhale, we'll bring the left hand to the right knee, the right hand back for support. So if you're here in the studio, I tend to go the opposite way. I don't mirror you guys. So I like to have little landmarks to differentiate the left and the right. To the left is, to the right is over to the door, and to the left is to the windows. So we're going to take that same inhale and exhale little mantra as we're taking these spinal twists. So on the inhale, we'll continue to lengthen the spine And when we exhale, we're twisting the torso over to the right. Again, if you're that visual person, you might visualize your torso like a wet towel at the beach that you're wringing out the water, trying to get as much water out as possible. So just see if you can bring a little bit more space in there to breathe and to open up. 2 more breaths. Last one here. Exhale, unwind the spine. Inhale, lengthen the arms. Exhale, right hand, left knee, left hand back for support, twisting over to the left, to the windows. Same thing here. See how this side feels compared to the first side. And the twist on that end. Maybe you can reach a little bit further here, maybe not, and that's okay too. Wherever you're starting to resist, check in with the body. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, go ahead and find the spine. And now going down, we'll get some leg stretches in here first. So we'll start by bringing the right leg out. Left leg can either be inward, the sole of the foot next to that right foot, or you can have it on the mat, whatever works for you. And if you have tight hamstrings, you can opt for a bent knee, and that's completely okay. Sometimes the tight hamstring thing is not a stretching thing. Sometimes it's an anatomy thing where you have shorter hamstrings. And so no matter how much you're stretching, you'll always have tight hamstrings. So you can ease up, bringing a little bend in the knee to not compromise your back. So we're going to continue with that lengthening with the arms all the way up to get that tall torso. And when we exhale, hinging forward over that right leg. We'll keep that right leg flexed, toes pointing up towards the sky. Excellent job. And it doesn't matter where your hands land, if they land on your thigh or your knees, your shin, your ankles, or your toes. That's not the goal of yoga. We're just getting a stretch in the legs, in the hamstrings, as well as the lower back too. So checking in and seeing where you're finding this the most. I'm actually going to take out my prop from underneath me. Continuing the breath in and out for 2 more. Last one. And exhale, go ahead and bring yourself back up with your core, and we'll take it to the other side. So left leg extending out, right leg can do its thing. And same thing here. So inhale, lengthen up, and exhale, hinging with the hips over that left leg. More breaths here. Seeing where you're feeling it. Last one. Exhale, go ahead and lift yourself up. Excellent job. So now we're going to topple over onto our hands and knees over into our tabletop position. You can keep your props nearby. We'll land on our hands and our knees, and right off the bat, we'll give ourselves a little head to toe body scan here, getting ourselves in good alignment. This is a really great foundation pose that we can build off of. So we want to first think about our grip in our hands. So extending and spreading out all of your fingers, pressing into the finger pads and the upper knuckles, creating a little suction between the palm and the mat. So we will be here for a little bit of time too. I know here in the studio, we're on a very lovely padded mat underneath our mats. But if you do have sore knees or knee sensitive knees, you can definitely place either another mat on top or a blanket underneath your knees, not a problem. So going forward, we also want to make sure that our shoulders are over the wrists, hips are over the knees. We want to keep a nice neutral neck here. So we don't want any unnecessary strain on our neck. We also want to think about our core too. So you might be thinking, oh, we're just on our hands and knees. What does this have to do with our core? But once we start working with our spine a little bit, we want to protect our core by engaging our muscles around our spine. So as you start to cinch your core all the way up to your spine, giving it a good fire up, we'll start with our spinal fluctuations, our cat-cow. So on the inhale, we'll draw the shoulders back, bringing your gaze forward as you tilt your pelvis. And on the exhale, rounding the spine as you draw your navel up, almost like you're pressing the mat away. So we'll continue back and forth just like that. Coming back and forth. Finding your breath to match the movement. And then we'll just end up starting to be at our own pace. So we'll be different. It'll be different than my pace and your neighbor's pace. Just a bunch of waves in the ocean going back and forth. Moving your spine. As you start to get into the groove of things, maybe you start to deepen it a little further by really trying to manipulate one vertebrae at a time of the spine. We have all these discs in our spine that help keep impact from hurting our backs, and over time they become brittle and a little bit worn out. So we want to keep our back nice and fluid. So if you've ever heard of motion is lotion, that's exactly what this is. So getting those movements in the back, really getting that space in there to move. Couple more rounds here. And we'll land right back in our tabletop position whenever you're ready. Okay, so we're here and we'll take some shoulder stretches right off the bat. We'll start to shift our weight over to the right to free up our left hand. On the next inhale, we'll reach our left hand all the way to the side, opening up the heart, opening up the chest, taking a big breath here. And on the exhale, threading the needle right underneath that right hand, excuse me. So you can make do with your props around you. Your head does not have to touch the floor, but if you'd like to deepen your practice, you can use, again, a block or another type of prop to either place underneath your head to get some support there, or you can place your hand on the block as well. So a lot of different variations here. We'll continue to keep this active pose by pressing into the back of that left hand. This creates an isometric movement, building strength as it contracts the muscles around the bone. So we're just pressing the back of that left hand. Maybe you start to feel that stretch in the back of the shoulder. Breathing into that open space. Last one. Through that exhale, we'll bring ourselves back up. You can use your right hand to assist. We'll bring that left hand back up to the side one more time, and then sending it back home. Excellent job. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So shifting over to the left, bring up the right hand, inhale, left arm up, exhale, sweeping underneath that left hand. Pressing into the back of that right arm. Maybe you start to feel this stretch a little bit differently than that other side. And there's no right or wrong answer. You could be feeling it in a place that you was working that muscle region, or maybe you're a lot tighter than you thought you were. That's completely okay. Listen to your body. As we start to quiet the mind, our body can tell us so much. 2 more breaths. Last one here. Exhale, crossing into the left. Inhale one more time, right arm up to the sky, and then sending it back home. Great. Okay. From here, we're going to come into a child's pose. So our first child's pose, we'll widen the knees, bringing big toes to touch, bringing the hips towards the heels, and reaching your arms all the way forward. Perhaps your forehead touches the ground. It doesn't have to. Again, you can use the props around you to get that adjustment, get that assist. So we're here in our grounding pose. This is our child's pose. Feel free to come here anytime. In yoga, it is widely considered as a resting pose. So you're not just getting a good way to come back to the breath, but it's a great grounding pose. It's also a really great hip opener, shoulder stretch, and back stretch as well. So lots of great things here. A couple more breaths here. Last one. And exhale, coming back. You can start to walk the hands back and lifting the knees or the hips back up. So I know the last couple of practices, we've been working on downward facing dog, which is something that we're working toward because it's an inversion. So we have our head down, and it is a lot of work. So we can either come into downward facing, or another variation is puppy pose. So it's almost the same as child pose, but we're keeping the hips up. So if you have a dog at home, you may have seen this pose where you reach your arms, they reach their arms forward. You're still getting that expansion and that decompression of the spine. So that's a really great option. And if you'd like to take it another step further, you can come into your downward facing dog by lifting the knees, sending your hips up and back into that V shape with your body. So as we're here, it's still important to breathe, keeping the breath flowing in and out. Maybe you start to walk your dog out, lowering one heel at a time. Remember, this is another pose about the tight hamstring. So you can opt for bent knees in this pose, not a problem. 2 more breaths here. Excellent job, everyone. Last one. We'll start to bring our gaze to the top of the mat, get in our aim, and we'll make our way there. We can start to walk our hands to our feet or taking a hop. Whatever way, we'll meet here in a forward fold. So upper body heavy over the legs. Another great opportunity to bring a moment here to our feet, maybe pressing on the tops of the feet, or I like to spread out my toes individually. This might feel nice if you've been in closed-toed shoes all day. It's the same concept that we did with our fingers. So getting that grip to get the balance there. So as we start building our poses up, we want to make sure that we still are grounded to the earth. On the next inhale, we'll sweep up to a halfway lift. So using our spine to elevate ourselves, and exhale back down, hinging forward. Forward fold. Great job. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up, rising with the sun. And exhale, coming back down here in our mountain pose. Excellent. So it's only It would be cost if I didn't go through my spiel about our mountain pose here. So we're taking a head to toe body scan as we're in our first standing position. So we want to make sure that our weight is evenly distributed in both legs. We don't want a hip popping out of some sort. We don't want our hips tilting forward, pronating, or coming backward as well. We just want them underneath our spine. We also want to keep our chest open, so externally rotating our shoulders rather than that cashew spine, that rounding of the spine. Everyone looks fantastic. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So remember what I said earlier, this is building a lot of tension in our neck. We want to bring them down, sliding them away, all the way. So you can feel free to close your eyes if you like. We'll take a couple breaths here, finding your blueprint, or the next time you're standing in line somewhere or having a conversation, you can kind of auto-correct yourself, saying, hey, this is not good alignment for my body. You can bring that visualization of that inhale, that fishing lure that's bringing you all the way up. And on the exhale, you're continuing to root yourself into the floor, into the mat. Creating that area, that space, opening up the diaphragm and the lungs to breathe nice and easily. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Last one. Excellent. Everyone looks fantastic. On the next inhale, we'll bring our arms up all the way overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bring our right foot back, keeping our left foot forward, bending at the knee, right into our warrior one pose. Keeping the shoulders down. Great job. Okay. On the next inhale, we'll start to straighten out that front leg. Hinging with the hips, we'll come forward into our humble warrior. You can bring your hands back to fly. If you do have props, you can place them on either side of that front foot, whatever works for you. Next inhale, we'll come up through our warrior one. And on the exhale, we'll swivel out to the right, so over towards the door into our warrior two. Some people like to widen their stance for warrior two. I do like to widen my stance, but it's a yogi's choice on that. So it's just a quick transition of that back foot parallel to the edge of the mat. Fantastic. Keeping a bend in that front left knee. Gaze over that front left hand. Next inhale, we'll flip that front palm. Exhale up and back toward the mirrors. Excellent. Into our reverse warrior. Breathing into that open space, that left side body. Fantastic. 2 more breaths. Last one. And exhale, we'll come back through warrior two. Now we'll start to straighten the front leg. You can keep a micro bend in there. It doesn't have to be locked. We'll send the hips back towards the mirror as our upper body comes forward into our triangle pose. This might be another opportunity. You opt for a prop on the inner arch of your left foot, reaching your right arm all the way up overhead. Excellent. Beautiful warriors, everybody. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, we'll cartwheel our hands down on either side of that front foot, and we'll take a step forward. Now we'll take a ragdoll, so opposite elbows. If you'd like, you can bring a little rock side to side with the hips. Also a great chance to grab some water at any point. You never need to have my permission to take a rest, catch your breath, child's pose, none of that. This is your practice. So So as we're in our forward fold, you might again bring that visualization to the body, get that sensation of letting everything just drape over your feet. Maybe you envision a waterfall that's coming over your back, over your head, getting that slope just trickling over your head. Go ahead and release that bind. On the next inhale, we'll sweep up to a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up. Exhale, down. Okay, now we'll take the same thing to the other side. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, left foot back, right foot forward. It's warrior one. Bend in that front right knee. Beautiful. You got this. Next breath. Starting to straighten up that front leg, hinging forward, humble warrior. 2 breaths here. Last one. Exhale all the way up through warrior one. Exhale over to the windows, warrior two. Gaze over that front right hand. Pressing into the soles of the feet, making sure that knee isn't coming in, not coming out. Nobody's doing that, but just a little reminder as we start to get more comfortable, your body can get complacent. Next, inhale, flipping that front palm. Exhale, up and back, reverse warrior. Breathing into that right side body, 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, warrior two. Starting to straighten up the front leg, hips come back toward the mirror, upper body forward into triangle pose. Adjusting to your needs. Excellent. 2 more breaths here. Last one. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down on either side of that front foot. Take a step forward, forward folds. So we'll start to roll ourselves up 1 vertebra at a time, coming all the way up to standing. Excellent. All right, so we're here at the top of the mat. I'm just going to stand forward just for the sake of what we're going next. We're going to take a couple of standing poses. We'll come into our tree pose. So again, everyone's tree is going to be different, and that's a beautiful thing. Just like a forest, we all have different variations of trees. And so you can definitely have a prop nearby as well for this. So one thing to consider with our balance is thinking about our core, our midsection. This will really help when you think about our spine. It's truly the epicenter of our body, keeping ourselves rooted. So we'll get a little fired up here. Maybe start to find something in front of you to look at, bring your gaze to. And we'll start on to shift our weight over to the left. So just starting to free up the right foot. And we have our different variations of tree here. So you can start maybe with a low tree. So just bringing the toes to the floor. Again, another chance to, you can place your foot on a block if you'd like. Maybe start to build your tree up towards your ankle. And if you like to take your full tree, you can take it alongside your thigh. One thing to note about this is we want to make sure that we're not pressing this leg, the tree leg, into the trunk. This is when that hip starts to go forward or go sideways. And sometimes it gets windy and you fall out. But we want to press the standing leg into the floating leg. From here, you can play around with your hands. You can have them at heart center. You can have them down next to you. If you're really feeling it, you can start to bring some branches to your tree. So I'll take a couple more breaths here. If you fall out of it, just come right back into it. No pressure. And remember, we're just playing around. There's no real commitment to it. One more breath. Excellent. Release. Go ahead, shake it out. No judgment. All good stuff. Excellent trees, everybody. All right. Over to the other side. This may be a better side or it may be a worse side, depending. Okay, so we'll start to shift over to the right, floating up that left leg, taking your tree on this side. Excellent. Everyone seems to be really liking this side. Couple more breaths. Beautiful. Last one. Exhale, release. Go ahead and shake it out. Love that. Saw a little bit of closed eyes. It's getting real in deep water there. It's fantastic. All right, so we're just gonna shake it out here. We'll just start to get your arms nice and heavy, getting some spinal twists in as well. You can let your arms kind of fly, getting nice and heavy. And you see. We'll just start to slow it down, just like you're turning a knob on a fan, just slowing it down. It never completely just stops, just little by little, until maybe it's just the hands moving, maybe it's just the torso, back and forth. And just shake it out, getting the arms nice and heavy, away from those ears. On the next inhale, we'll bring our arms up all the way overhead. And on the exhale, hinging forward, we'll place our hands on the mat, taking a step back into our tabletop and then into our child's pose. So yet again, another child's pose here. This one might feel different than that first one we did. Maybe you've done several since we did that first one. Maybe you've been in here the entire time and that was perfectly fine too. Seeing how this one feels compared to that first one. So maybe you're getting your muscles a little bit warmed up more and you're able to get into that deeper stretch. Maybe it's not feeling as good. Just a little checking with the body. We'll take a little side stretch here. So we'll just come onto the tips of our fingers. We'll start to slowly walk over and off the right side of the mat. Maybe reaching a little bit further with that left hand. Maybe you start to feel a little stretch on that right side, that left side body. Depending on how much of a stretch, you might even be feeling it in your lower back too. Breathing into the open space. 3 deep, full breaths. On that exhalation, we'll start to come back through center and over and off the left side, or whichever side you haven't done. Reaching a little bit further with that right hand. Need more breaths here. And whenever you're ready, we'll come back through center and start to lift ourselves back up into our tabletop position. And we'll just swivel onto our bottoms, coming into our stack pose, so that L shape of the body. We'll take one more forward pose here. So I know this position can be really uncomfortable, just like that seated one that we did earlier. I know my natural state is to kind of keep forward. So we want to use our core to bring ourselves up. You may imagine yourself again getting pulled up while feeling the sit bones press into the mat. We'll take one more forward fold here. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hinging forward over those legs. Two more breaths. Last one. Exhale, coming back up, and we'll take ourselves onto the mat on our backs for some low and slow and cooling down poses. You might opt to keep your block near you if that's something that you like. And we'll start with the soles of the feet on the ground, the knees coming up. And right off the bat, we'll take a figure four pose. So we'll cross the right ankle over the left knee in our figure four. From here, you can take whatever variation works for you, either having that left leg on the ground, or you might float that left leg, threading the needle, interlacing your fingers behind that left thigh, while you push away that right knee muscularly. So another hip opener, little quad stretch too. And the breath flowing, going down, coming back to that natural pace. Two more breaths here. Last one. Slowly release your bind. If you took one, we'll keep that ankle crossed over though. We'll take a little twist here and start to lower that sole of the foot over to the left. So we're coming into a supine spinal twist. If you have another variation of your twist that you'd like to take, by all means go for it. There are several different variations you can take, whichever one works for you. That was just a little transition. Another little easy way to come into that is you can bring both soles of the feet on the ground and lift the hips up so that the knees naturally come over to the left. So whichever variation works for you tonight. These twists are excellent any time of the day, but they are really, really beneficial at the end of the day. They help aid in digestion. And because these twists start to move lymphatic fluid to the larger organs of the body, of the vascular system that naturally detox the body. So really, really great benefits there. Two more breaths. Last one. And exhale, you can go ahead and bring your legs back up. You can untangle if you have that bind. And just take it to the other side. So crossing left ankle over the right knee, and whatever variation of figure four works for you tonight. You start to check in, seeing how this side feels compared to that other side that we did. You tend to hold and have a lot of tension in the hips. So getting that hip opener is a really good thing to do. Couple more breaths here. Last one. Exhale, go ahead and release. We'll keep that ankle crossed over. And same thing here, twisting over the other side. So just letting yourself gently roll over to the right so that that sole of the foot touches down. And I forgot to mention too, you can play around with the arms as well. You can have them next to you, down by your side. If you're looking for another little chest opener, heart opener, you can bring goalpost arms to your arms, little 90-degree angles at the elbows. You might really feel it depending on how tight you are. And if you like that sensation of feeling grounded, you can place your hands on your tummy. So it kind of gives that same sensation of a weighted blanket, if you guys are familiar with those. Just in a heavy place on your tummy. Some more breaths here. Two more breaths. Last one. So go ahead and release. You can untangle the legs. We'll bring a little windshield wiper back and forth to neutralize the spine after those twists. Little counter pose action. And at this time, if there's any other shapes or postures that your body is calling for to you complete the for you to complete your practice, now is the time. I always try and give a couple extra moments. So you can come into a happy baby, lifting the legs into the air, reaching for the inner arches. A little bit of a playful pose. You start to rock side to side. Here in the studio, since we do have our blocks, you can definitely make use of those too. If you're looking for a little, bridge pose or a supported bridge pose or even an inversion, you can lift the hips up and let the block come underneath your sacrum, that flat part above your tailbone. So you can either come into your supported bridge pose, you can play around lifting the legs into the air. And you definitely do not need to have a block to do this. You can use a wall if you're at home. We do have some wall space here too as well. And this is another great pose to do at the end of the day as well. It helps reverse that blood flow. There's so many benefits to that as well that also help promote sleep. So I know a lot of people, when they think of an inversion, they think of a headstand and a handstand. And those are great too, but for something that can lead to something dangerous, this is really quite easy and safe. And there's so many different variations you can get the benefits of the inversion. So if you would like, you can play around here for a couple more breaths. If you're already ready for our final rest, you can definitely come into that and we'll meet you there. Couple more breaths in your yogi's choice closing pose. If you're already in Shavasana, be there. As we start to come to a close here, it's traditional in yoga that after we've done the hard work, showing up for ourselves, we can come into a semi-meditative state called Shavasana. All you have to do is truly lay here. You can have your eyes closed if you like. You don't have to. And we can start to lengthen our limbs, just really letting the body be heavy. I will not be taking Shavasana, so I'm just going to come right back up into a seat. As we start to take one last body scan, just checking in with your body and how you're feeling this evening. We'll start to come from head to toe, so releasing any facial expressions, really bringing that neutral facial structure, not clenching anything. Maybe bringing a space between the upper and lower jaw, letting the tongue rest the roof of the mouth. Bringing the shoulders away from the ears, unclenching the tummy after all of that core work and activation, releasing through the hips, the knees, the ankles, and the toes, coming to complete stillness and softness. Shavasana. If you found yourself drifting away, come on back to the present, maybe bringing small sensations to the fingers, toes, even reaching up overhead for a big good morning stretch as we take one last collective breath together. Inhaling through the nose and sighing it out. Just taking your time. You can close out together. You may join me in a seated position or right where you are is perfect. Thank you so much for coming and practicing with me today here in the studio, new and familiar friends, and at home as well. I'm very honored to be your teacher and to be here this evening with you all. The light within me honors, shines, respects, and encourages light within each and every one of you. I bow and say namaste. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week.